Moses was giving his final sermon to the Israelites across the land of Canaan. First, he talked about how God helped them in the wilderness. As he was talking about the time in the wilderness, Moses first thought about his past life. 3 months after birth, Moses was thrown into the Nile River. He was just an infant who could not survive by himself. However, the Egyptian princess rescued him and taught him the education that a prince received. As an adult, Moses fought against an Egyptian man for the Israelites, but ended up killing him. Moses, filled with fear, ran away to a place where no Egyptian soldier would be able to find him, the wilderness. In the Bible, when the Israelites left Egypt and headed to the land of Canaan, it was described as a land flowing with milk and honey. However, only limited areas of the land of Canaan were prosperous, and most areas were not fertile. The lives of the Israelites who had to live in a place like this and herd sheep and farm there must have been very difficult. However, it is said that the Israelites found themselves overcoming difficulties, and they even met God in these places. How were they able to live with gratitude in the land of Canaan? Moses said that God trained the Israelites here in the wilderness for 40 years. He also met God after spending 40 years there. At that time, Moses said this to God, "God, I don't know how to speak well." He completely emptied himself while living in the wilderness. All the things he had learned, and learned as a prince in Egypt, including the words he had learned and the things he had trained himself to do, disappeared in the wilderness. Moses thought he was a person who couldn't do anything. But God called Moses and gave him a new life. Moses returned to Egypt and led the Israelites, who had been living as slaves, out of Egypt. And then he went into the wilderness again. But Moses was not the same Moses who couldn't do anything. It was because God was with him. When Moses prayed, water came out of the land and food came down from the sky. Daily manna fed the Israelites. Moses realized, it is a desert with nothing, but if God is with us, it becomes like the prosperous land of Egypt, or the land of Canaan flowing with milk and honey. In this way, Moses learned how to live a holy life while loving each other with the Israelites in the wilderness, where it was truly difficult for anyone to live. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, Moses calls the Israelites together and talks about God being with them during the last 40 years they spent in the wilderness. It is said that the time spent there was truly difficult, but it was a time of greater grace for those who remembered the word of God. With God's help, through the manna, they never went hungry. Their clothes never fell apart, and their feet never swelled. Everyone, perhaps times like the wilderness continue for many people today. But I hope that you remember that God who was with Moses is also with us. And with God's help, even when we cross the wilderness, we will be able to discover greater reasons for gratitude in our later Canaan-like lives.